Noon Radio is in the air at FM 100.3 KFAN. It's Paul Allen. Eric Nordquist is the master mixer of the Monday montage. And we have good news and bad news. The bad news is we're going to start a radio week montaging about the Minnesota Vikings with an old song called Rainy Days and Mondays. Karen Carpenter on lead vocals for a band called the Carpenters. The good news is we had to actually find the song, dust it off, and blow off the cobwebs because we haven't had to use that sucker in quite some time. So I guess copyright Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin. It's good times, bad times.
And I apologize if I didn't catch the right emotion as part of that montage this morning, because I have not had to feel the emotion of a loss since the 2023 season. PA. It was hard for me to emote and offer the right level of sadness on a Monday following an at-the-wire loss to the Kitties in the division, a collision that put the Honolulu Blue in front in the NFC North. I just couldn't get sad enough with that song today because I'm out of practice.
Right. And speaking of being out of practice, I may need a face change during the course of the radio show today. And whether it was you texting me last night about you not being sad and the way you laid some things out, and running into people today and their reaction to the Vikings 2-point loss to the Detroit Lions, I'm going to go through what I wrote last night, and there may be a face change that is required here because I can't exactly explain how I feel right now, and is generally not like that after Minnesota Vikings games. But for maybe the second or maximum third time, probably just the second in all of the years I've called Minnesota Vikings football, I truly, deeply, and wholeheartedly, authentically, and honestly believe in my heart the Minnesota Vikings can go to the Super Bowl this year. I can't exactly say, the way the 2022 went, with the way the defense kind of fell apart a little bit at the end of the year.
Some house of cards defensively with Donatel,
Ain't no doubt. And I can't, into the season, I came off the long string of vocal maintenance days, and from the Gridiron Gospel, I had an epiphany that the Minnesota Vikings are going to go to the Super Bowl in the first year with Kevin O'Connell.
Joshua Tree, ayahuasca, the whole thing.
You can eliminate the ayahuasca. You can keep the other one and replace it with Jacob's Well. Okay, 3-2. But into the season, I laid it out pragmatically, and then they went out and won 13 games and lost in the first playoff game. But really, anywhere along the line, and we do 9 to noon every day together, so correct me if you think I'm wrong. I wasn't like, and we weren't like, this is absolutely a Super Bowl team. Eagles do this, Niners do that, stuff like that. Now, 2009, from the minute Brett Favre hit Percy Harvin for the first touchdown at Cleveland, and then Adrian Peterson stiff-armed cornerback Eric Wright out of bounds, threw him to the side like the proverbial rag doll.
Yeah.
And then Greg Lewis.
It took me until Greg Lewis in 2009, with all the Hollywood and the helicopter following the vehicle to Winter Park. But when the Greg Lewis bid happened, it's Super Bowl. We're headed there.
Yep. And Hauschka had the symbolic wind provided by Brett Favre, and professionally what he was giving us that year, blow a kick to the side or the Ravens would have beaten us. And that team started 6-0. And every step of the way, that felt like a Super Bowl team. That's about, in the years that I've called the games, there really have been 2, maybe 2.5 times where I truly, genuinely, authentically, honestly, and purely felt the Minnesota Vikings absolutely can get to the Super Bowl. Well, this year's one of them. And we've talked about it with the other teams week by week. Look at the way things are falling. All right. I mean, the Eagles, now Saquon put a nasty one on his former team yesterday, but that team's dysfunctional and the head coach is yelling at fans. I'll take my chances. They already beat the Green Bay Packers. Christian McCaffrey's in Germany with some weird doctor working on his Achilles and stuff like that. And that team, the Niners, lost again yesterday.
They did.
So you look at the landscape of the NFC, and then you look at the 5-0, now 5-1, and I'm like, absolutely, this team can get to the Super Bowl. So that's why I can't exactly define how I feel right now, because I know it is wrong on a lot of levels to be mad about certain things that happened yesterday. And I was texting with somebody throughout the Lynx game last night who's very close to the Covenant, kind of setting me straight about, yeah, but this, yeah, but this, yeah, but this. And then you came in with kind of an unemotional feeling for the ever emotional mad producer, like, I'm not sad.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that. I feel that. Walking around the office this morning. What a great game. I'm not mad. I'm not sad. My favorite team lost. All good. I can't get there.
Okay.
And here's why I can't get there. Because and this will be included, you know, during the course of the show today. Let's just start like this. What we witnessed yesterday at US Bank Stadium was the best two teams to play in that building since the Eagles beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. 64686 on the text line. Free iHeartRadio app. Find the microphone. You should know what to do by now. I'll say it again. What we witnessed yesterday at US Bank Stadium was the best two football teams to play in that building since the Philadelphia Eagles beat the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52.
I can't say you're wrong.
The Detroit Lions are such a professional, organized, panic-free team. And despite the loss, the Minnesota Vikings still absolutely should be considered a high-ender in the NFC and the National Football League. So just clip on me with an Ed Hockley whenever you think I'm out of my lane.
Okay.
And despite the loss, there's this age-old cliche, all right? It's a game of inches. It's a game of inches. You know, that weird late Darisaw penalty, and I've watched it back now with the sneaky film from the side and from behind. I mean, okay, come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking inches. I mean, come on, man. But okay. All right. But no, I understand why the penalty was called. It's not like Breanna Stewart taking 9 steps from the 3-point line to the foul line and having foolish officials just completely miss it in a championship game. No, it's not that. But nevertheless, the penalty happened. I'm not mad at it. But it's a game of inches. And with that Darisaw penalty, that cost us 180 of those precious inches. That's how many inches go into 5 feet, go into 5 yards. Hey. And Will Reichard was cost a chance to win the game from 67 or 68 yards.
You give the kid a chance if it's from 68.
Cinch.
100% chance.
10 of 10. I never speak for O'Connell. I never speak for the team. I'm going to speak for O'Connell and the team right now. That, yes, they would have put Reichard out there, and if they hadn't, they would have been making a mistake. So the game of inches, those 180 inches on that penalty, cost Reichard an opportunity from 67. Amen?
Amen.
With conviction, who thinks the Crimson Tide kid wouldn't have been walk-off Will and set a National Football League record for the longest kick ever? The record is 66 by Justin Tucker in 2021.
Against the Kitties, by the way.
And Tucker rhymes with pucker. Because were that the case, after the nailer hit, everybody in the stadium would have puckered up to kiss the kid, but because of the 180 inches in the game of inches.
Can you storm the field in an NFL game?
I mean, sure. I'm like, why not 72?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I understand. Why not 72. But the Kitties left purring and rubbing up on legs with affection after a 2-point win. So now the face change, or the potential of a face change. the overarcher. Yes, I'd still like the Vikings' chances against anybody, anywhere, anytime, especially with Hawkinson's return on the horizon. Now to the details. It's the context covenant with the first rainy days and a Monday for our beloved purple. The 5-1 Vikings. Yes, they traded blows with the best offensive team in the National Football League. Yes, they put Aaron Jones on a big one. Yes, they kept sacking the supposedly unsackable behind the best line in the National Football League, even with that Maple Grove High School replacement who took 3 penalties in about 2 seconds. They had so many different ways the Minnesota Vikings could have won that game, but they didn't. Now, I'm legit disappointed, and here's why. Because stuff is continuing to change. That the from the second half of the Packers game through yesterday, stuff is continuing to change. But that it's not the first time in the history of the National Football League somebody blitzes somebody offensively, defensively, and with the rookie kicker. Well, the other team has the opportunity to watch film, get takes, tells, talkers, and expose things too. So yes, they will punch back.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The point is that I didn't expect or don't expect a Texans blowout to unfurl every time the Vikings play in U.S. Bank Stadium. But consider all this in the context covenant with the details. And good morning. Darnold went 2 full games without a touchdown pass and against 2 picks. All right? Like 5 minutes, 50 seconds to go in the first half at Lambeau. He hits JJ for a 14-yard touchdown. No touchdowns in the second half over there. None in London. None in the first half yesterday. Now, those are details within the context of what we are watching, what we are listening to, and what we are feeling. And that is a stark change from what led somebody to the NFC September Offensive Player of the Month. It's not a change. It's a stark change.
It is.
And there were good opponents along the way. So ain't nobody going to hit us with, yeah, it was them, yeah, it was them, and yeah, it was that awful team. No, it was the Niners. It was Kyle Shanahan. It was the shiny toy known as the Houston Texans. It was Matt LaFleur and his super special schemes, and they're up 28-0. So we have a stark change there. Almost 9 quarters with no passing touchdowns, and it can't happen for that long. All right? We still got a lot of games to play. Tough place to put the ball on the 2-point conversion, too, from the quarterback. And you needed that 2-point conversion like you needed to breathe. Tough place to put the ball, and I've watched it back. Tough place to put the ball. We'll leave that there. On the Branch pick, Aaron Jones was wide open on the other side of the field, and he might have gone for a touchdown.
He was.
Okay, well, Sam, like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, Joe Namath, and Y.A. Tittle, is not the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to miss somebody who might have gone for a touchdown. So we ain't super mad at that. But it's a stark change.
It is.
It's a stark change from what we saw through the first 4.5. 3rd and 4, very, very, very late in the game. Jefferson in front of Dan Campbell in front of the Lions bench. Well, Sam throws it too hard and too high.
Yeah.
That's a stark change. All right? That's a stark change to what we have seen, what we have known, what we can touch, what we feel, and what we know is real. That was a 3rd and 4, and it would have forced Detroit to use its timeouts.
It also looked like, I thought it looked like Addison and Jefferson. I don't know what happens in terms of the press and the physical nature of it. Mm-hmm. It looked like one of them was too close to the other. Without knowing the play, they were a little bunched up in that spot.
That's a very interesting take you have, because somebody told me that after the game. And yeah, that's a very interesting take you have.
So I'm just curious if that was meant to be or if something happened there.
Okay, but nevertheless, they may be too close. They may be too stacked.
Touch pass to Jefferson.
We're probably going to win.
It moves the chains, and I would go even farther. I would say that you do win.
We probably are going to win. Okay, so again, stark change. Now, and not just a change, a stark, dramatic change from what we've seen. Now, FIDA, Fairness and Sam Darnold Act. It's in watching back these plays, that's what I remember, and 9 to noon in no way is putting the majority of the loss on the quarterback,
right,
like you and I texted about last night. Defense. How many key hits did the Detroit Lions have between our linebackers and safeties?
My goodness.
Middle of the field.
Innumerable, it felt like.
I mean, how many? Seriously. Okay, but
when did Goff have his first incompletion?
The Detroit Lions might be the best team in the National Football League. The Detroit Lions might win the Super Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings might go to the Super Bowl. And see, that's why there's this tone in my voice. That's why there was the tone to the texting last night.
Yeah.
That's why there's the tone to the texting with somebody over there this morning about things. Is because when you've seen as much as I've seen, as long as I've seen it, right next to it, you kind of get a feel for what a playoff team looks like, feels like, smells like, and acts like. So, like, into the season, when I was being pressed on how many games they're going to win, how many, I couldn't come up with an answer. I just would tell you and everybody who would listen, I feel I know what a playoff team looks like, and this is a playoff team. I don't know if it's a 9-win playoff team or a 14-win playoff team. This is a playoff team of what I saw in organized team activities and training camp and stuff like that. So that's why my expectations for things changing and or falling off are leading to a potential face change needed by me, in that maybe I'm being a little too frustrated with this. But like defensively, and I love our defense, and I fully expect to bounce back Thursday night. Like, think about it. Second half of the Packers game, what defense was that? We haven't seen that all year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, ask Aaron Rodgers what defense that was when they killed him. So they bounced back.
Right.
We had a stark change, and then we had a correction that was dramatic. But when you give up 15 points a game and you give up 67 rushing yards a game, and Blake Cashman didn't play, I get it. But in my estimation, and with my expectations for this team, which are really high end, like, yes, they can go to the Super Bowl. I ain't going to say they can win it because I'm just going to say they can go to the Super Bowl. And again, really, in the 10, 11 years we've been together, how many times have we truly felt that? I don't think we felt it in 2017, despite the miracle. Hey, we're in the NFC title game in the home of NFL Films, and we're favored, but it wasn't like all loud and everything about how good this team is, stuff like that, remember?
That was a weird vibe into that game.
Right.
After the miracle, we were all kind of heads in clouds.
Yes.
Like there was a hangover in a mental sense from that. Yes, completely different.
And the whole season, to a certain extent, was found money. You lose Bradford game 1, you lose Cook game 4, you got Keenum, you got Latavius, and you got McKinnon and the whole thing.
Peaches running the offense.
Yep, Peaches O'Leary, may God rest his soul. But there was some found money there. Well, this is not the case here.
No.
Okay, Sam Darnold was the 3rd overall pick in the 2018 draft. There's not found money there. He was supposed to be good. He was in awkward situations. Then he was a backup. He was able to chill. And we've seen what he can do. And again, ain't nobody putting a fight, a Fairness and Sam Darnold Act. Ain't nobody putting this loss strictly on Sam Darnold. But when you give up 15 a game and 67 rushing yards a game, it's tough for me to see it go from 15 to 30 and 67 to 150. It just has to be a little lower. Now, FIGA, Fairness and Jared Goff Act. He never has played better. Never. Jared Goff has never played better football in his life. Kevin O'Connell told me before the game, when we were taping the pregame interview that airs right in front of the game, that Jared Goff's the best pure passer in the National Football League. And we saw that. And so he gets to make some plays, and we understand that. But again, to a man, those are the best two teams who have met each other at U.S. Bank Stadium since the Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots played in Super Bowl 52. And I recognize that too. These are two high-end operations with two of the smartest coaching staffs in the game. It felt like we missed a fair amount of tackles. There's a change. And some of it was a stark change.
Yeah.
They schemed Van Ginkel out of the passing game. Cool. I would too. The Vikings tried Dallas Turner inside very early. He's physical. We're going to put Dallas inside. Hey, under the cover of darkness. Might have played 4 plays. Didn't see. I must have messed stuff up because we didn't see him in there.
Correct.
For a majority of the game after that. Okay?
They also made an effort to. I mean, the way that they were getting guys like Khalif on Gilmore, the touchdowns is a very clear example of it.
Right.
But they figured out, okay, we might not be able to break him over the top, but if we can get him running laterally,
right,
they could have problems with this. I mean, it was an awesome game plan by the Kitties.
The 150 or 144 on the ground and the 31, that's going to bug Flores and the gang. And that's good because they're the coaches and the players. I'm the stupid announcer. You're mad producer. My expectations are that of a fan or that of somebody who's close to the team and a fan. And those expectations are the 2024 Minnesota Vikings can go to the Super Bowl. So therefore, that's why this metaphorical 2x4 that smacked me upside the head yesterday just had my head spinning all through the Lynx game. And like driving to work this morning, I just can't figure out what off that loss outside of 2 heavyweight coaching staffs and 2 fantastic teams battling to the wire. That's nothing but good news. I get that. They came into town. The Lions came into town. I mean, that offense is the best in the National Football League. They came into town with their lofty. We have plenty of lofty of our own with this defense. And partially due to 31 points and 144 rushing yards, their lofty was loftier than ours. Flores threw haymakers early. The Vikings still haven't allowed a touchdown in the first quarter. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions, he got up off the mat and delivered some uppercuts in the shape of 3 long touchdown drives and 84 yards rushing in the second quarter alone. Oof. Then, very late, the professional, panic-free nature of the Motor City Kitties came shining through. Down 1, starting at their 30. So this is after Darnold tries to channel his inner Nolan Ryan and throw a ball 102 miles per hour too high to Jefferson. Probably would have won the game if he just connects on that. Wonderful play call, too, because they rolled Darnold out to the right, which is where Jefferson was. I mean, the whole operation of that thing outside of what you said about maybe some receivers being too close to each other, it was a winning play for a winning team to win a game against one of the best 2 teams in the National Football League. And it didn't work. So now the Kitties get the ball. And they're very professional. They're very panic-free. The professional panic-free nature of the Detroit Lions just came bursting through. Down 1, starting at their 30, with 2 and change to go. They get 30 yards from Jahmyr Gibbs on 3 plays.
Yeah.
It took 1:14. See how your face changed?
Yeah.
Now you know where I'm coming from.
I know.
It's like if you think this is a good team that might pull some upsets in the playoffs or sneak in as a wild card, that's one thing. If you know in your heart of all hearts ever to heart that this team is of the Super Bowl variety, Gibbs 30 yards on 3 plays.
Can't happen.
They moved it to our 49 in 1:14. That's what I'm saying.
And the dagger, it was Amon-Ra, right?
Yes. It was Gibbs, Amon-Ra, St. Brown for 14.
Yeah.
On this day, their lofty was better than our lofty when it mattered. Maybe this season will be somewhat like 2004, when the Minnesota Vikings lost to the Green Bay Packers twice in the regular season. We might lose to the Lions twice in the regular season. But like 2004, maybe the Vikings will bounce the adversary from the postseason if and or when they meet for a third time. It's tough for me to not like the Detroit Lions. I got not screamed at, but I had some people come at me from inside the Covenant after Amon-Ra St. Brown walked off on the Vikings back left of the end zone in 2021 because they heard the highlight and they're like, well, why don't you just become Dan Miller? Why don't you just become the the Lions Vox? And I'm like, why don't you have a heart? That team hadn't won a football game in a year.
Yeah.
Their fans hadn't seen a victory at Ford Field in 2 years because of the pandemic. No, am I happy for them? No. But was I able to feel their happiness through that play? Yes.
They're a likable team, man.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe we lose 2 to the Kitties and beat them in the postseason. Maybe we should just start focusing on the fact that Rams running back Kyron Williams has scored a touchdown in 9 consecutive games. Matthew Stafford still brings it, and a 2-game losing streak gives you a lot to think about during the mini-bye. So let's not lose to the Rams. And all of that is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes Vikes Bites about 20 minutes from now, followed by the analyst, Pete Bursich, and much more during the course of this 9 to noon tour at FM 100.3 KFAN. I'm Paul Allen. Nordo produces. He's the master mixer of the Monday montage, and he also executes the cash thing. And good morning.
Yes, the Fan, along with 2 men in a junk truck, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. So go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword money. You might win $1,000 with the keyword money. All you got to do, just go to KFAN.com.
Here they come. 9 to noon radio. 9:35 on a Monday after a 2-point loss to the Detroit Lions. Okay, so give me your best here, okay?
Yeah.
So off that 26, 27 minutes where I started it by saying I potentially need a face change because I'm conceding that maybe I'm not seeing things clearly off the first loss of the season. Maybe I'm attacking things too harshly. Well, what do you think? Do you think a face change is needed, or do you think the way I laid it out and what I said is on point?
Well, I think there's a duality here, and I'm going to. I hate to sit on a fence, but in some respects, I will. I'm frustrated we lost, but I'm not frustrated we lost. We gotta run as fast as we can to trade for a certain QB before the deadline. Forget the extension on the defensive coordinator. He can go be a head coach anywhere. This entire thing is a complete disaster. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm looking at a team that played one of the best in the NFL, traded punches, got to another lead, saw adversity with an awful second quarter, fight their way back to take a lead, and we're living on a day after in a loss in the minutia. And I was talking to Lieber here off air, and it's just kind of, we stepped on our bleeps.
Yeah.
I mean, it just from the penalties to decisions that were made in moments. Again,
the penalties. Wow.
I mean, correct. And so, I thought Kevin O'Connell. So 2 things. So after the game, Lieber talks with Shaq Griffin, I believe it was. It was Shaq, right?
Yeah.
Yep, Shaq in the locker room. And it was kind of interesting to hear him talking about some miscommunications on defense. So this was really the first time it's been vocalized. You're 5-0. You know these miscommunications happen, but you haven't lost a game yet. So you're winning and learning at the same time. So Shaq was talking about some miscommunications on defense. I'm thinking about the Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown where, it looks like Griffin gets cooked by Jamison Williams on one side, Cam Bynum caught in the middle of it all as Amon-Ra's streaking open, and Murphy, who started as a corner, and then it looks like he's inverting to go back and cover a quarter in the back as a safety. He just couldn't catch up to Amon-Ra. Just little moments in minutia like that. So miscommunications on defense, hearing that from Shaq, that tells me a bit of the story. The other side of the story is I thought Kevin O'Connell laid this out perfectly. The pick by Sam Darnold, it was an absolutely awful throw. He didn't say that. I'm saying that. But this is an offense that averaged 7.5 yards per play yesterday, PA. You win all those games.
Yeah.
You win all those games when your offense is averaging 7.5 yards a play.
Yeah.
And what he said, and he's got terminology for everything.
Yeah.
The self-inflicteds. The self-inflicteds, whether it's the miscommunications on defense, the penalties. Ed Ingram got freight trained by Aleem McNeil. That holding penalty was ridiculous. I mean, how do you get a holding call when you're the guy that's on your back? I don't necessarily understand that.
Yeah.
But all the same, the self-inflicted in those moments. We're still seeing formation penalties. We're still seeing moments of lack of execution. And in the end, we fought our way back. You asked this team to see adversity. And again, I think they stepped on their bleeps yesterday. I think that in the end, we had an opportunity to win that game, and in moments, we didn't come through. I get it. But in the end, it's minutia we're talking about. We're not talking about utter failure of a scheme, utter failure of a concept. I think that we went head to head with one of the best.
Yeah.
We showed up for the most part. We made some mistakes, and it's on us. Those self-inflicted. The offense is 7.5 yards per play. Defense gets to Goff 4 times. First time he's hit the turf. A guy that's really, really tough to sack. You got to him 4 times. You impacted plays. You affected things. Mm-hmm. And in the end, I'm coming away from that saying, I see where we need to get better. I see where those changes are coming that you're talking about.
Yeah.
September Offensive Player of the Month in Sam Darnold wasn't exactly a bang-up job that he did first game of October. There's no doubt about that. And so, you go through that. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in XYZ quarters. We're seeing specific issues statistically later in games in the fourth quarter.
It's 9 quarters.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It absolutely is.
Right. See, that's self-inflicted. Everything you said, I agree with, but why? See, I'd like to know the why.
Yeah.
And is it just happened? I'm not a big it just happened guy.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm not either, because there's some consistencies that are building as you're talking about, the missed tackles being one of them.
Well, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Sam Laporta, and Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, and Frank Ragnow, and Jared Goff.
Studs.
Yeah. Well, they put pressure on you.
Yeah.
So why? So why the self-inflicted? Why then against them?
Right.
You see what I'm saying here?
I understand it.
It got hot.
It did.
And it got hot and we got burned. Well, that if you believe this team is of the Super Bowl caliber, I'm just kind of like, you're going to get burned. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown's top 5 receiver, top 8 receiver in the NFL. I mean, this is a high-end operation.
Yeah.
I just I can't get my mind to mesh with my heart on, yeah, we got close. Yeah, we did this per play. Yeah, we got the scoop and score. Yeah, we almost won.
Right.
I can't get there. I don't think we played great. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think we played great.
So take that 2 ways. Does that create optimism that you didn't play great? Again, those moments of lack of execution, those stupid decisions, the miscommunication, all those L's, and you give up 31 to the Kitties, and you're right there. You're a 2-point conversion play away from potentially winning the game. Mm-hmm. That would dictate change if we have 31 in terms of how the Kitties handle it.
Yep.
If you convert that 3rd and 4, you're likely winning that game. You're wearing out their timeouts in the clock, and now they got to drive into field goal range with 30 seconds instead of 2.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So does that give you optimism that said this team played absolutely awful? So that's in some ways you clean that up onto the Rams, get through the mini bye, get through what is supposed to be an easier part of the schedule, or you say, well, now we've finally been unmasked. That we were actually playing awful in those first 5 games. So now actually we are not a team that is capable of.
I don't think we played awful. I mean, if I say I don't think we played very good, I just know there's better. It's you can miss on the 2-point conversion and throw it in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Or the Jefferson 3rd and 4. But if you're going to the Super Bowl, you don't miss both.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
And so the question is does it lend you optimism that the team did miss those things, that they did have those penalties, that we were without Blake Cashman, who's been an absolute godsend and a revelation in the middle of that defense. And what did that lend to? That led to the best rushing attack and opportunity that any team's had against us through 6. So all of those things adding up that, yeah, we can bounce back from that. But the streak of stupid has to stop with those inadequacies and inefficiencies.
Right.
Or we just aren't a team that is actually capable of going to the Super Bowl, but through the scheming of our offense and building massive advantages, the game flow helped dictate us to the hot start that we were on.
Do you believe truly in your heart the 2024 Minnesota Vikings are capable of absolutely have the best chance since you've done this job?
I believe that they are capable of going to the Super Bowl.
Is this the best chance in the last 11 years? Wait, it's. I mean, you follow Vikings football a long time.
In 2017, there was a miracle in the mix.
These vibes don't hit the heart frequently.
No, they don't.
Well, it's there with me. Is it there with you?
It's there with me.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I'm pissed off.
I understand. Yeah.
And it's fleeting. It'll pass. But it's, man, I'm just surprised at some things that I saw yesterday that were incapable of being stopped. Play after play after play after play. And
the term that I use during Fan Line, because the very first caller we took, sum it up in one word. And I think he's, opportunistic. And that the Lions, in some cases, were just more opportunistic than the Vikings. My word was helpless. Those 4 consecutive touchdown drives, I felt like our favorite team was a passenger in all of this. And it was helpless.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that the Vikings, and certainly me as a fan.
Helpless teams don't go to the Super Bowl.
They don't. So there were mistakes made. And things need to be fixed. The Lions kind of have had Brian Flores' number since he came to Minnesota. What's different the next time they face each other? But the way that they lost, the way that they played, there are still so many things that I walk away with going, yeah, I know that's damn good.
Yeah.
I still know that Harrison Phillips running laterally and hopping an O-lineman to stuff Montgomery on a 3rd and short. I know that's still good.
With a bad shoulder.
I know them being ready for the fake punt bid on 4th down. I know that's still good.
Yeah.
I know Sam to Jefferson on 3rd and long is still good for the TD.
Yeah.
I know these things are
like
still
that.
good. But yeah, I'm definitely, the penalty stuff sucks. We can't rely on turnovers forever, as we saw yesterday. QB will make a bad throw every single game. And my goodness, Cam Bynum looked like he was stuck in cement on that long Gibbs run. So I'm going to nitpick, and in Vikes Bites next segment, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to actually start nitpicking, in some ways contradicting myself.
Yeah.
But I walk away knowing that all this stuff is still really freaking good.
So what you're telling me in closing here is, when it comes to
faith and goal,
the person who always preaches the overarching take and opinion and viewpoint is the only way to look at life.
Yeah.
And like, say we're on an airplane and I happen to get seat 23B and I'm in the middle and I got a couple of big uns next to me and I can't get the armrest and I got a 4.5 hour flight and it's hot and the flight attendants aren't getting back with beverages quickly enough. Might be a mechanical. I'm worried about my connection somewhere. A lot of I in there. Meanwhile, my man in air traffic control, he's watching them take off. He's watching them land. He's making sure they don't crash and die. That's the overarching opinion to the metaphor.
Right.
Where I'm trapped in the details and I preach to people, the overarcher is where the eyes need to go, where the heart needs to go. And then the details will take care of themselves. The overarcher is, we are in lockstep knowing the Minnesota Vikings absolutely can get to the Super Bowl and have the best chance to get to the Super Bowl, the best overall team since 2009.
Yes.
That's the overarcher. So I'm wrapped up in 23B with the big ends and I can't get the armrest or any beverages.
Hey, that's why we're here, man.
Okay, so short week and on to the Rams. This will be a special one for Kevin O'Connell, who won a Super Bowl with those guys. Sentimentality aside, the 2024 Minnesota Vikings have Super Bowl aspirations. And losing 2 games in 5 days cannot be part of that plan. How will they bounce back from that heavyweight fight against the Detroit Lions? How will Sam Darnold respond in a city he starred as a quarterback for the USC Trojans? That's Thursday. The boom is 7:15.
Vikes Bites!
I feel weird right now. I do. I don't know how I can't explain how I feel about yesterday's game. And
Going through changes.
I've wrestled with this since 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I don't know. Hopefully I explained it. Hopefully I explained it as eloquently as possible with my head spinning a little bit right now.
I think you did, and that leads us into Vikes Bites, where we kind of have to go back down this road. And Vikes Bites is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. It's a Clearwater, Minnesota company, by the way, so if you're into supporting local, it doesn't get more local than that. And additionally, by the way, they're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. So we love you, Thousand Hills. And I want to start with this. I'm actually going to play a talk back here, and it kind of goes off of what I was mentioning last segment. And but it plays into my Vikes Bite. Here it is.
Hey, fellas, let's face it. The really missing piece was Blake Cashman. They have put all their eggs in that basket, and when he's gone, we really had some serious communications problems on the defensive side.
He's right.
So, right. Whether it's the terminology of putting all eggs in the basket, etc.
Yep.
I do believe that one of the most important pieces of this defense, and we got sacks, we got Van Ginkel, we got all this, and every notable member of the secondary has an interception. Team starts 5-0, close loss yesterday. I think the guy that might make all of that work and all of that come together, and maybe just in a one-game vacuum, when you hear Shaq Griffin after the game with Ben Lieber talking about miscommunications on defense, there were frantic moments. Pete mentioned it on the call yesterday. I forget which of the 4 consecutive touchdown drives. It may have been the Khalif Raymond one, where Pete's like, they're scrambling before the snap. Like this, clearly something wasn't right. Ultimately, Gilmore gets matched up trying to run across the field with Raymond. He had no chance of keeping up. He trips and falls, turns into a touchdown. But maybe can we? How much can we put on that PA on Blake Cashman? How important he is. Let's get this turf toe figured out. Hopefully he's available Thursday, but if not, you got a little mini bye.
Yeah.
Let's get Cashman back on the field, please.
Yeah, I don't. I think O'Connell at his Friday press conference when he announced that Blake Cashman would not play because of the turf toe, he may have said he's not playing in the next 2, which would be Thursday. Now with Stafford and Cooper Kupp. My intel was Cooper Kupp was supposed to play yesterday.
I think he's the one that he's closer than Nakua for sure.
Right, but
might have Cooper on Thursday.
Right, you see what McVay did there.
There's no more Tutu Atwell. There's Whittington.
McVay's the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, he's like, real. Even with these obscure names all over the Rams covenant, I can't remember the last time I started putting together a game calling depth chart like I did last night. With 75, maybe 65% of the names, I just never have heard of. Playing a lot of reps for the LA Rams. They got a couple of rookies on the offensive line. Now you got Atwell, you got Tyler Johnson, Colby Parkinson. I guess I've kind of heard of him. Kyron Williams is the bomb. But you know what McVay did yesterday because it's what the Super Bowl winning high-enders do. I could use Cooper in this game, but we probably could go ahead and wait a few more days, for that Thursday night game when the Tyro comes in to take on the mentor. And it's we need it because we're like 2-4. They need it because they believe they're going to the Super Bowl. But there are ancillary reasons McVay and O'Connell want to win this game. It's like, of course he's going to dust off Cooper Kupp on Thursday night. But from a Cashman standpoint, I may be wrong here. But I thought maybe Friday he might have said, Blake's going to miss a couple.
Now, my final Vike Bite, thank you, Thousand Hills, actually comes to us from our buddies at Zone Coverage, Nordo's Numbers. Yeah. Each and every week, Tom and company, they put together a bunch of numbers that took place in the most recent Vikings game. So thank you, Zone Coverage. But amidst some of the negative numbers, we'll say, trailing for the first time all season, the undefeated turnover margin bit sadly has come to an end.
22-1.
How about this? The Vikings, through the first 6 games of the season, they're outscoring their opponents 58-3.
Yeah, in the first quarter.
So of all the bits that are absolutely negative, and we want to focus on those changes taking place, something that has not changed. You are going to get your ass kicked by the Vikings in the first quarter.
Right.
The 58-3 margin is undeniable. I'd say, courtesy of Zone Coverage, that's a pretty nice number, even though it resulted ultimately in a 31-29 loss.
Well, you're right, but okay, cool. So that's what they do. We will impose our will on you in the first quarter. The Vikings defense has not given up a touchdown, as you just mentioned, the first quarter of the whole year.
Yeah.
And this is what we do. Okay, but if you're going to go to the Super Bowl and you're playing a team that, quite honestly, might represent the NFC in the Super Bowl and win the sucker, well, what do they do? Where do they want to impose their will with a Nordo's number, zonecoverage.com, the way they want to do it?
Well, you'd want to shut the door in the fourth quarter.
No.
And, okay.
Second quarter.
Ooh.
They're number one in the National Football League with a plus 40 points differential, and it's not close.
The Vikings are.
No, the Lions.
Oh, the Lions.
Yeah, so they imposed their will and outscored us 21-0.
Well...
Okay, see that stuff right there is what pisses me off.
Wait a minute, were they plus 40 into the game?
No, they're plus 61 now. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about.
So they were already
with
plus
changes and stark changes. That's what I'm talking about. We did what we do, and you couldn't stop it.
And they did what they could.
Ben's like, okay. And their drives were longer. The 3 in the second quarter. I think we only had the ball once in the second quarter, something like that.
Yeah, once or twice. It wasn't great.
Right, but
I think we threw a pick and
okay, but see here's where my face needs to change because like I'm talking in circles, man. Because what we do in the first quarter, 58-3 counts. What they do in the second quarter as a team that might win the Super Bowl, that counts too. And just because we didn't stop it, I can't be mad. Okay, I can be frustrated, but does it have to be 21-0?
No, it doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Could have stopped him once.
Does Gibbs have to be 30?
Oh.
Can it be 16? From the rushing 67, can it go up to 112?
The offense that
See what I'm saying?
It was objectively beautiful too, PA.
I know.
That's
golf's unbelievable.
Our favorite team. I mean, again, I felt helpless yesterday at times, but if I take my emotion and my connection out of it, that was beautiful offense from Ben Johnson and the Kitties.
Right.
But hey, we build significant advantages on the front end of games. We need to hold those advantages. We've done that for the most part this season.
Yes.
Yesterday, we got hit by a Mack truck.
And in the second half at Green Bay.
Peel me off the freeway and let's go.
And in the second half at Green Bay.
Okay. Just peel me off the freeway and let's go.
But the defense responded in the Jets game.
Yes.
I can't wait to see. I mean, can you imagine? I bet you Brian Flores doesn't sleep up to this game.
No.
I mean, there are candles lit in the room. You got lava lamps. You got potions being mixed. I mean, you have a...
He's full Belichick on this one.
Yes, and that's a great way to put it. And there will be a correction.
And somebody's going to try and say, Flora, this isn't McVay's fault. That won't matter.
All right, 9 to noon into the middle part. The analyst Pete Bursich joins around the corner on KFAN.